Will you accept child incest rape baby Jesus as your Lord and Savior? Travis Wayne Goodsell, I hope your answer was no. Hope it was no. For you Jews in Utah, phonetically the same. That's why the Book of Mormon calls you Jews. It's a book of prophecy of the future. Mormons thought it was a prophecy of the past. Oops. Oops. We get to laugh at Elder Bednar. I was concerned I wouldn't get to it. If you've been watching the 2 other videos today, you know how sad I was, and I told you that I found some stuff out in the news last night after doing the church news video about Bednar. There's some more stuff about Bednar and Dubai that I should have saved for today. Nonetheless, we get to do it for today's church news. As the church thought that they would again have me divided. Which one am I going to choose? Which one? 18-year-old girls or Bednar getting punked by Muslims? Which one? Oh, I did the one about Bednar last night. Then I did an earlier one for the 18-year-old girls, thanks to Child Faith leaking the info to me early. So, at the regular time for church news, now that we're 30 minutes late, but still church could be pulling out some Friday night news dump after 5. After 5. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe Oaks will finally say, all right, you got us, Travis. Here you go. Here's the church. Save Mormons. We're the enemy. We betrayed everybody with the Judas Prize to our enemies. Here you go. Save Mormons. We're sorry. No. They'll never say they're sorry. They'll never admit that they were wrong. They will never let you go. Ain't going to happen. Ain't gonna happen. So, but that little baby was just so cute. She's now on my screen. She's so cute. Oh my God. Just so adorable. So adorable. So innocent. She doesn't know she's being raised up in a world of hell. And mommy is trying to dress her up to make it worse of a faith crisis when she grows up and becomes a teenager. Finds out the real truth of what's going on in the world. All the baby pictures in the world won't save her now. At least you could have had her dress up in Halloween costumes every day. Goth baby! Oh, that would be so adorable. Parents, don't do this at home. So, Bednar and the Muslims. It's in the Quran, actually. So, back in 2022, I believe it was, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, under Biden, had been trying to get in with Muslims to fund terrorism and thus cause October 7th, 2023. Going over with you the real history of Islam, that Westerners just have not cared about Islam to not bother to know their enemy. Gotta know your enemy. And so Bednar with Gong did a whole presentation about how we're just like Muslims. And a pamphlet came out, Muslims and Latter-day Saints. Beliefs, values, lifestyles. And yeah, comedy ensued. They get 72 child bride virgins in their highest degree of celestial kingdom. We only get 10. Ha ha ha. Our Mormon women wear the symbol of their sexual abuse under their outer garments. Muslim women wear it all the time in public. Stuff like that. Yeah, this was a big punk on the church, as Bednar and Gong were the chumps who were the blind leading the blind of Mormonism, to mislead Mormons on the real Islam. And I come out and I explain it all, and the church is not happy. Well, quit lying to Mormons, and then I won't be doing videos. I don't have anything to do if you're being honest and true and telling the truth. Not being criminal evil anymore. That's all you got to do is be good, and I've got nothing. You shut me up for good permanently because there's nothing to do videos on to warn Mormons about. That's all you got to do. All you got to do, and you won't do it, will you? So we got this eternal war as anti-Travis. Nonetheless. So again, we've got to go over 600 BCE, technically 597 BCE, Babylon, by expanding their territory, take over occupation of Judah with its capital of Jerusalem. They removed the king of Judah and replaced him with the brother of Nebuchadnezzar, Zedekiah. Even though he has a Hebrew name. He's fitting in. If we were to do origins of Babylon, they were the marsh people, just living in the marshes. From no records. So obviously they came from the north through the Levant, and so likely one of the previous conquered civilizations where the people fled into the marshlands. And then they eventually would rise up to become Babylon, conquering Neo-Assyria, and then expanding their kingdom. If we were to go back to the origins of mankind, yeah, Southeast Africa, and eventually moving up into the Nile River, and then through the Levant, and then to Europe and Asia, and over to America over time. That's why the American Indian DNA is Chinese, because they're Egyptian. Because the Chinese DNA is Egyptian, ancient Egyptian. So thus, the Americans are Jews. Pre-Babylonian captivity Jewish Egyptians. Ta-da. You thought the Book of Mormon was false, didn't you, anti-Mormon apostates? You just proved the church was true. Just not what Mormon apologists will ever accept. They've got to be Orthodox Jewish. Their DNA must be Orthodox Jewish. Literal history, our way. So, 586 BCE. Zedekiah was being a naughty boy, living all by himself, way out in Jerusalem. He kind of liked hoarding all the money in his own treasury of the Jerusalem temple. And despite the warnings of the prophets, Babylon came and conquered, took captive Zedekiah and the rich elite Jews, because they were the ones supposed to be giving tribute and they didn't. Thus, the treasury, along with the whole temple, destroyed, and all of the gold and silver and finery was taken into Babylon as conquering tribute for their disobedience and disloyalty. The people were taken hostages and held captive in Ur of Babylon. This is all known archaeologically. This is literal history that happened. Lehi? No. Babylon? Yes. 9th Av, 586 BCE, the original 9/11. You just have to get your month and day adjusted right. Babylon was eventually conquered by Persia. And so the scriptures talk about King Cyrus. You are free to go back to Jerusalem and rebuild your temple. And so the Jews, knowing of the prophecies to restore their kingdom, saw that as a type and shadow similitude of that fulfillment. And so they recorded it as such, so that it's based on literal history, but a prophecy of the future. Because they weren't really free, and it wasn't their own restored kingdom. They were still subject, had to give tribute to Persia. And then to Greece, and then to Rome, and then to Christians. So when Persia conquered Babylon, Babylon had some who were able to flee. And they fled into Saudi Arabia. if you know your Middle East geography. And here in America, we say Middle East. We don't say Near East. Right, Near East. Far East would be Asia. Or the China, Japan. And so that's more of an English thing to call it Near Eastern Studies. And so, yeah, BYU thinking they're politically correct are politically incorrect. Where in America, it's the Middle East. Because the Western East is Europe, but Near East, the Far East is always China. But people who don't know often make that mistake because of who they listen to. So yes, Mormon apologists from Brits. And they think they're smart and they tell Mormons this information, and then Mormons think that they're now smart, and then they're not. Just like Bednar. So this is important for you to understand. I have repeatedly gone over this with you with phonetics. Depending on your country of origin of archaeologists determines how the phonetics are used for Egyptian. For one example. And so that's why I don't give a bleep and bleep bleep about phonetics. It's the picture that I'm concerned with for the meaning of the word. So, time goes by, and these Saudi Arabian Knights continue to live in the desert in tents. The Greeks come, the Romans come, they destroy the Jews again on 9th Ave, 72 CE. There are some Jews that flee into Saudi Arabia to escape the Romans. The Jerusalem Jews just disappear. They're gone from the records. 7 churches of Turkey still continue to exist. Many of the Canaanite therapeutic groups still around. Alexandria Jews, yeah, they thrived. Until there was some wars and burning of the library. Yeah, nothing says true religion like destroying records. Right? Spanish conquistadores to the Aztecs. Dear God. Well, they're heathens. Obviously, they've got nothing good to say. Christians! So, yeah, Constantine turns everything into literal histories that were not literal histories. And this causes some problems, destroyed all of scientific achievements, like bathing, plumbing. Gone. Because of the dark ages of Christianity. And they call it the light of Jesus. I'm in the dark. I can't see. But Jesus will cure you of your blindness. Yeah, it ain't working. Still blind. Ow, I stubbed my toe. Christianity is a stumbling block. How well do you know your Book of Mormon? How well? So, we're still in the Dark Ages. 600 BCE comes along. Christians, with the first creed of Christianity, selected which scriptures were to be approved of for their collection of what they called the Bible, with the Old and New Testament as they called it. And so there are Christians who go into Saudi Arabia to teach Christianity to the Bedouins in Saudi Arabia. And these Babylonian outcasts know about the Jews, they know about the Christian Bible. So around 600 CE, Muhammad is born. Knowing about the Jews, knowing about Babylon, knowing about Christianity. And so he gets a Messiah complex. He thinks he's the Jewish Christ, the man like Moses, and tells the tale of going to the top of the mountain to receive a vision from Christian Trinity, now named Allah, translated into English as we in the plural. Trinity. And there claims that Allah gave him the the Quran. The Ten Commandments. The book of the Quran. He stole from both the Jews, Babylon, and Christians to form his religion. More so Jews for his character as the leader of the people, and Christians for the religion. Theology, technically. And so a lot of the Quran treats the Bible as literal history. They believe Jesus to be a real historical character during the Roman period of time. Muhammad gets fooled by Constantine in the First Creed. Muhammad starts polygamy because he's got to increase his numbers of his religion if he's going to take over the whole world. So, polygamy. 8-year-old girl. And so his conversion for missionary work was join or die. Go into a village. Here's our Quran. No, thank you. Order of Nehor, enforcing their faith with violence, the sword. And then burn the village, raise the children to be Muslim, Islam, and then the women become part of the harem. So Islam is the religion. Muslim is the culture. The nationality is where they live on earth. Gazans, Lebanese, Syrians, Iraqi, Saudi Arabians, Yemenis, Egyptians. That's why it was face palming back in the day when Nelson came out and said, "The Book of Mormon is now in Egyptian." And so I found his post, and it's not in Egyptian, it's in Arabic. But it was a guy who's an Islamist living in Egypt. The nationality is Egyptian. The Book of Mormon was put into Arabic. But yeah, Mormons were frothing at the mouth, saying the church is true now. No, I've shown you how the Book of Mormon comes from actual Egyptian. And you don't believe. Because it's not the right literal history. Wrong! Wrong, Travis. And so, in each of these geographical locations, they have a government. And it's based on Islam. And you've probably heard that there's Sunni and Shiite, for the most part, for the religious division. And each of these governments need a military to keep people in line and to protect from white Westerners, Christians from Europe, after chasing them out. So the Crusades was about taking it back from Islam. There's a movie. Can't remember the name of the characters. I can see them. The one guy was in I'm drawing a blank. But the other woman, she was a James Bond character for Daniel Craig, the first one. I'm trying to blank on her, but it's green, I think. Just frustrated. I've not seen any of her works in a long time. That's the sad thing that happens, is that the men who get cast for James Bond, whether a villain or a main character, they go on to do many other movies and become well known. The women who get chosen for the villainous or the good girl, they were chosen because of their success, and then you don't really hear too much from them afterward. Which is weird. You finally made it into a Bond film, and there's a big difference on the careers of men versus women afterward. But the Bercoli family have made sure to promote the past characters of both sexes. They've done very well. I was so concerned with Daniel Craig. He does not fit at all, and then I ended up crying at the end, and I can't watch. Brilliant. And yeah, a little girl, daddy-daughter movie. That's why it was brought in. So, after Islam was able to take back the land from Christians, they were able to grow quite fast. There's over 2 billion in the world right now. So the other nations stayed away. And so Islam was able to grow and develop in secret, amassing in great numbers, as for the most part everybody stayed away and didn't have dealings with them. So when America finally picked fights with the Middle East, that was the big problem. We had nobody that knew Arabic. Even back in the 2000s, when I went to the University of Utah, I wanted to get involved in a Hebrew degree. And they said, oh, yeah, we got a Hebrew degree. Yeah, sure. No, they don't. They tried to funnel me into Arabic. The CIA is looking for people who can speak Arabic. The CES director at the University of Utah, why don't you join the war? Be a religious preacher. Bleep you! If you didn't want me to be a CES teacher, just say so. Don't tell me to go kill myself. Bleep you! Have I got a CES letter for you? But before this, Islam were furious with the UN after World War II, when it got formed, I guess. That the UN, because of the Holocaust in Nazi Germany, the 7 million or just horrific number of Jews slaughtered, gave back the Jewish land to the Jews. And it was just Jerusalem at the time, because you're aware of Gaza and Lebanon and the West Bank. Still not Jewish. There's been some issues since the UN put them back, and the 7-Day War of Israel. They really showed how military-minded they are. You don't mess with them. They have been abused for far too long, kept from their land, and they want it back. They need it back. But Islam is too numerous and have occupied it for too long, that they lie and say that the Jews are the occupiers, denying history of both Islam and the Jews. They have to lie about history in order to claim their occupation of it. I've already told you about Salem being founded first by the settlers on Mount Salem, but nonetheless, Egyptian. And so, after World War II, after realizing they aren't militarily going to remove the Jews from Israel, they then began a campaign in surrounding areas as well to go around to the different nations begging for asylum, claiming that their religion or military, mostly military, are being very abusive. They need sanctuary in their country. America took them in. We have an act in the 60s to give asylum to those Islamists from abusive countries. They're all abusive. This was their secret plot to infiltrate all world governments. As sleeper cells, living as Americans. It wasn't just the Russians doing it during this time as well. But the Russians were a little more sneaky. They didn't seek asylum. They just snuck in. Islam claimed victimhood to get in and thus get government funding to help them assimilate into the different cultures around the world. You know that they were lying to the government about their abuse because of the women still wearing the outward clothing symbolism of their religious, sexual, patriarchal abusers. Yeah, you ever saw that Lee here in Utah, not Senator Lee, but the other Lee in the Utah Congress, who had a cell phone? Wow, look what we got here. Oh, he's being Islamophobic. We're concerned for our safety. Yeah, women and children. And all the women and the little girls are all dressed up in their religious sexual abuse of their religion. All of them claimed asylum in America and were sent to Utah. And they're not legitimate because they're still, they're sleeper cells. So Utah, being dumb Westerners, oh yeah, here's a mosque, Islamic center, and they dot this valley at key infrastructure and basic utilities and first responders. Good thinking. And the church helps pay, not just for survival, with food, clothing, and they got a lot of finer stuff than most Utah kids have. I mean, there was a little Islamic girl who didn't like to wear the hijab in public. So once she got on the bus and we turned the corner, off went the hijab. And she had the latest cell phone and was playing first-person shooter games against American soldiers. Oh? Oh. So among Utahns, she tried to look normal, and only for mommy and daddy and the family, she put on the sleeper cell secret clothing. So yes, the church also hires them, which means they became Mormon. So whenever I take the bus, every time I see the Mormons, who are Islamists, working for the church at the distribution center, and the women are wearing the hijab. Meaning mean that they're still Islamic. They didn't give up their religion to become Mormon like they were supposed to in the interview questions. Which means they are sleeper cells in the religion, not just American sleeper cells. So their prayers are every day. They really don't have a Sabbath day like Babylon created. Every day is a religious day. And so that's where their morning, noon, and evening prayers come from. If you've seen the Hollywood entertainment where I need to know where East is so I can pray. Oh, you have to let me have a break. I need to pray. That's where it comes from. And they quote from the Quran as a rote prayer for those 3 prayers during the day. And then the one on Friday at noon is the special Muhammad Judgment Day Armageddon prayer. Guess who that's against? And here the church said, we're just like Muslims, embrace them. Give them of your substance. Make them feel welcome. But those Jews, wonderful pie. Family Guy, the Disney special song. Jew! Dum 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 dum. So, last night I exposed that Bednar is yet again funding Islamic terrorism. Giving machines already was part of the funding of Islamic terrorism. That was the new addition after the 2022 pamphlet. That was the whole push. They met with Islam to fund their terrorist activities against Israel on October 7th, hoping to have a reciprocal business deal with Islam. And playing dumb, and maybe they are, about the dangers of Islam. Because Islam, as sleeper cells, always claim to be victims. Oh, we're so persecuted after we struck first. You hadn't noticed that? You haven't compared the wars when Russia strikes Ukraine and Ukraine strikes back versus when Islam strikes Israel and Israel strikes back. You hadn't noticed the difference, huh? There's a blatant, evil reporting about the war against Israel, the holy war of Islam against Israel. This was their whole plot the whole time. As October 7th exposed them, their whole intention to go around the world was to grow up in numbers all over the world, to rise up in number, rise up in rank, in government, in business, in the communities, to earn people's trust, to claim to be victim when everybody laughed at their clothing, of their sexual abuse by their religion. It's religious persecution, religious freedom, and then start spreading Islamic beliefs masked by the languages, just as the church does, claiming we're Christian when we're obviously not. We're not even supposed to be Christian. We're supposed to be Jewish. Islam knows how to read English and comprehend English. So when the church is doing these business deals to fund their terrorist operations against Israel, to amass weapons and support the militaries, to coordinate and plot the attacks, the church they play dumb. Because the church does it as well. You can't talk about us. We're a persecuted people. We murdered Joseph Smith, our founder, was murdered. And we had to flee the country to escape persecution. You're the Danites, though. You caused it. You're the Order of Nehor, too. And so, yes, they took the serpent in their home, thinking that they can control the serpent. And yet, if you look at the map of the Islamic centers in this valley, they did a very poor job. Maybe the church is doing this on purpose. Maybe they're not dumb Westerners after all. They know what they're doing. But they're not bothering to tell Mormons. That should concern you. But their doctrine is nowhere near the doctrine of Lucifer. The Quran really isn't considered a great literature. It's obviously historic because it's the religion of Islam. But compared to the Book of Mormon, the Book of Mormon is just incredibly awesome. Not awesome is the new special. The real original definition of awesome. So yes, Bednar may or may not know. This is what we need to find out. Does he know that in funding terrorism, that they are also building up a defense and plotting against the church and the state of Utah? It wasn't just to get everybody to turn against Israel, Revelation chapter 16, for Armageddon. So, Bednar met with the president. Shouldn't have taken it down yet. With the Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Elders. Now pay attention to what the church news put here. On November 17th, 2025, Elder David A. Bednar of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles met with His Excellency Judge Mohammed Abdel Salam. So Salem, Abdel. So Salem, Mohammed. See how they name their kids? Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Arabian emperor. Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Elders in Abu Dhabi, UAE, to explore ways to promote peace, coexistence, and human fraternity. I have tried to encourage the Strengthening Church Members Committee to get to know me. I give them hints on what I'm currently watching so that they can watch it too, to be up on what I talk about in my videos. I put theme songs in the description below. They really need to watch them. You know, for the one about 18-year-old little baby girls going on missions. What did I put as the theme song in the description below? If the church just reads it and go, okay, yeah, okay, woman on a mission, got it. Oh, very clever, Travis. Did you watch it? It's the music video. I know it's porn to you. That's why I love to tease you. Because I know it's going to make you uncomfortable. But you're at work. Oh no, you're at work. Watching porn. You're not experienced about being secretive and hiding things from others, are you? You always have to have an excuse before you get caught. So that there's no hesitation when you get caught. You have an immediate answer and you can get away with whatever you're doing. It's research, dear. The title expands on what that first paragraph talks about. Elder Bednar meets with Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Elders. Discussions focus on promoting peace, human fraternity, and mutual respect among faiths. No. No. They should have done their research first. The Muslim Council of Elders from Wikipedia. And then we'll go to their website. An independent international non-profit organization founded on the Ramadan year, which is equivalent to 19 July 2014, to promote peace, tolerance, and coexistence by uniting Muslim scholars, Muslim experts, and Muslim dignitaries. The Muslim Council of Elders is only for Muslims, those of Islam. It is not for outsiders. The peace, tolerance, coexistence has nothing to do with anybody else but Islam. And there Bednar is, doing the photo op, doing the church news for Mormons. Mormons are going, yeah, we're going to give them the Book of Mormon. They're going to join the church. No. They have death penalties too. Founded in Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, as an independent international organization to promote peace, advance the values of dialogue, tolerance, and human coexistence, and defend the causes of the Muslim world. It aims to promote communication and dialogue with followers of other religions and cultures to accept Muslims as victims. So that other people are tolerant and coexistent with them as sleeper cells. To obtain your money to fund their terrorist operations. And so their website confirms this. So after, again, repeating the date of when it was founded in 2014, chaired by His Eminence, Professor Dr. Ahmed Al-Tayeb, Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, the council is composed of eminent scholars and dignitaries from the Muslim Ummah, renowned for their wisdom, moderation, justice, and independence. It is not with outsiders. This isn't a united religious thing. This is full Muslim Islamist. They want Islam to come back together as one people. No more Shiite and Sunni, one Islam. No more nationalities, all one Islam. This is their goal, to unite Islam. You know, like the Pope, who keeps failing. And so with October 7th, they've succeeded. This is what we now understand this council to be involved with. Uniting Islam in preparation for October 7th, 2023. And to get suckers and losers from the West to fall for it. To help them in their cause for the final solution of Israel. The Council's mission is to foster peace within Muslim and non-Muslim communities alike, where Muslim is, so that other religions leave them alone. That's what they mean. And to advance the principles of dialogue, tolerance, and human coexistence of Islam. And so, the goal, to bolster the concept of desired peace manifested in the presence of social harmony that ensures the protection of the five necessities: life, religion. What religion? Honor, intellect, and property. This aims to curb the widening violations of the sanctity of life, honor, and property. They're getting too immersed in Western culture, and thus, why planning and preparing for the holy war against Israel, to unite. The principles. Adherence to the principles and core tenets of Islam, both in spirit and in letter. To unite Shiite and Sunni. Following the moderate approach that has been embraced by the Ummah throughout history. This approach has been consistently passed on from one generation to the next, firmly rooted in the Ummah's collective religious. Read more. See how it has nothing to do with other religions? Other religions need to tolerate and coexist with Islam, but Islam has the full right to steal your property and take your land and murder you and rape your women. You must coexist with them. You must tolerate them. So the vision of this council is to foster safe societies that honor knowledge and appreciate scholars and uphold the values of friendship, tolerance, and living together in peace. Still Islam. Where there are sleeper cells around the world, others must be friends with Islam, tolerate Islam, and live together in peace with Islam, even if Islam destroys your lives and overthrows you. Like Mamdani, now the mayor of New York, who assassinated Trump today, right? He's not a communist. It's a lie. Fox knows this. They're not fooled. And so in the news last night that I didn't get to, but now get to because of Bednar's extra church news thing, Fox finally realized that Islam are U.S. sleeper cells. Oh my God. It's been since the 60s, Fox. It's been since the 60s. You know, they do these things for shock value to get views, and yet, if you knew, you just go, yeah, that's been that way for decades. It's nothing new. So why isn't Trump doing anything about it? Because money's involved. That's why Mohammed bin Salman. Oh yeah, he says he's a good guy. I believe him. He's very strong and powerful, just like Putin. I gave him some nuclear secrets, just like I did to Putin in the first term. And yeah, he promises that he's going to do business deals with us here in America. And yeah, he wants Israel to stop fighting. So I told Netanyahu, you stop fighting. And he said, what the hell? What the hell? You're supposed to be on my side. What money have you given to me lately? You didn't do me a favor recently. I owe you nothing. Weren't you going to put up a Trump Tower in Gaza? What happened to that? Now you're letting the UN build it back for Islam? What the hell, Trump? The Canadian Prime Minister, the new one. Yeah, he was also in the UAE with Bednar. Doing business deals in the UAE, just as Bednar was there for that. And I did the post from the UAE and how they fund terrorism through charity work, just like all Islam does, Saudi Arabia and such. It should still be in here somewhere, maybe. I'm pretty sure I made it a separate thing, but I'm not finding it offhand. Better not have put it in the other file. Oh, there it is. I made its own file. Ah, there it is. UAE terrorism. Yep. So yeah, the original shutoff at 7 minutes has now been exposed as an overload on my system, being on the internet and doing the video that I just posted. So it wasn't a cyber attack. Wow. All right. So yeah, the UAE claims they've taken steps to stop terrorism. It's others terrorizing them, not Islamic terrorism. That's what they mean. When they say peace, they mean after you're dead. There's a whole new vocabulary that Westerners don't catch. Although terrorist attacks are rare, the UAE has been listed as a place used by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and other lesser investors to raise funds to support militants in Afghanistan, Pakistan, September 11th, Israel. Businesses based in the UAE have been implicated in the funding of the Taliban Haqqani network. In the 72nd session of the UN General Assembly in New York, UAE Foreign Minister Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan affirmed the United Arab Emirates policy of zero tolerance towards terrorism funding. It's not terrorism funding if it's for Islam. They lie. Manipulating definitions for the stupid Westerners. And so yes, they have led wars on terrorism and so yeah, they include funding for the Muslim Brotherhood, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, Hezbollah, Houthi, Islamic State, which are terrorist organizations, as well as 83 others, which would include Hamas and Gaza as well. And yeah, they got Hezbollah. So, yeah. So yes, I'm not being hyperbolic when I tell you that the church is funding terrorism, Islamic terrorism. Any attacks by Islam were funded by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Do not be fooled by this. And so, the other news about Dubai involved the Lolita Express show. Private jets. Like a car show. same type of private jet for Epstein's Lolita Express to Epstein Island. Yep. Perfect timing for that one. So yeah, the symbol is the eclipsed moon that occurred over Russia on 8th April 4 CE. And became the communist symbol, and it's being carried by a dove. And so it's only carrying the dove of peace, the Islamic symbol. Nobody else. It's not for anybody else. So the church is there. If they're leading you to believe that the church is there, and if they actually believe that, oh my God, Bednar, that they are trying to get Islam to coexist with Mormons, to get their temple in Dubai, to get other things. No, you silly Mormons. No. Because you have to pay property taxes for the temple, and it goes to Islam, and then Islam launders it to terrorists. If you think you're going to occupy the land, you've got another thing coming. They will destroy your temple and kick you out, if not have you murdered, by chopping you up into pieces and putting you in a drum barrel, and then claim, oh, you didn't do it. We don't know what happened to it. It just went missing. Yeah, I know, you got the video footage. But, yeah, nope, not us. So, yeah, find Bednar in a drum all chopped up. And them saying, we have no idea what happened to him. Good luck with that, Bednar.